Hello YouTube, today I'm going to show you how to overclock the Z9 Mini batch 2 and onwards. But before I show you, you need to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
So now it's okay?
As well as clicking on the bell. If you don't do this, then I can't tell you how to overclock the Z9 Mini.
I hope it's okay.
Perfect. In the last video we saw that the default frequency was 500 MHz. Batch 1 was able to overclock to 750 MHz, which is the maximum setting on here. I think I did try higher settings, but they're not listed here, but there are ways of doing higher settings, but it wasn't stable. When we looked at batch 2, we saw that we only had a setting of 500 MHz or balance. If we have a look at the firmware numbers, so batch 1 was May 26, batch 2 is August 12. One possibility is to upload the old firmware. This may or may not work. I got some hash boards repaired for the D3 and they came at the equivalent of 17.5 gigahash per second instead of 19.3 gigahash per second when you had it on the default setting. You was able to overclock it, but Bitmain have modified the firmware on the hash board. Bitmain might have done the same thing on the Z9 Mini. To go to firmware, you need to go to service.bitmain.com/support, click on firmware, firmware again, Z9 Mini, then firmware, and if we look here, it does say 26th of May, which matches batch 1. Now I'm tempted just to upload the firmware on here, but then that might not work. What can we do? There's one dirty step that we can do, and that's right click and click on inspect. You can do something similar in Firefox and probably in Evo Edge, but what we have is a combo box, or in HTML language it's called select. We open it up and we see the values, 0 being default setting, and then we got the values for the different frequency. The numbers in blue are the actual data, the numbers in black is just a description. We can see at the bottom of the list we have 750, which is 750M. So can we do the same thing for batch 2? Let's give it a go. So we can see we're at 11 kilosols per second, and if we have a look at the pool, we're around 46 kilosols per second. I'm way off my estimated 66 kilosols per second that I wanted, which is 66 divided by 4. About 16.5 each is what I wanted, or thereabouts. This means I need to somehow gain 20 kilosols from 3 machines, an extra 6 kilosols from each machine. So let's give this a go. Going back to minor configuration, then advanced settings. Right click on the combo box and select inspect. We open the select tag and we can see we only have one option. In fact, there's a turbo option which is commented out. An open bracket, exclamation mark, hyphen hyphen is start of commenting out, and then at the end you've got 2 hyphens and a closing bracket. So what we can do is right click and edit as HTML and just remove the comments out. We can also add extra things in here if we wanted to, or edit things, and then just click off it. And then when we click on the combo box, we have balance and turbo. But before we do that, I want to make an extra turbo. So I'll set that to 750, edit text because that's just a description. Now I'm going to try this, see what happens. Before I do that, I need to select extra turbo, save and apply, and I'll show you the disadvantage to this method. It's fine as long as if you don't want to come back here again. Now to show you the disadvantage, that page is just refreshed. We can also see that the combo box does not have anything here. Now if you edit anything in the general settings, it might also update this as well. If you change a setting, you'll lose your overclock setting. The disadvantage of using this method that I've shown, if I right click and go to inspect, it will take us to the right place. You can also move the mouse around and it will highlight different sections, and you can edit different parts of the web page. But the problem with this, the next time you're on this web page, everything resets to normal. So the next time you go to save and apply, you save the default settings. But that's not what you want. So what we're doing first is finding out what are the correct settings that we can use batch 2 onwards. There's no point in making this permanent if these settings are not compatible. Well, that didn't work, did it? Okay, that's been running for 4 minutes and it's still at full speed, so it's not happy with those settings. I'll try a different frequency on the list. 650 is a valid option, so I'll try that. Instead of creating an extra option, I'll just leave that on balance and then just change the value here. You have to click off it for it to apply. You'll see a highlight on it to indicate something has changed. If I go to save and apply, give that a few moments. That firmware is now downloaded, so on the third device I'm going to try and flash the image. So we'll give that a moment to do its thing, and we might be lucky, might be able to get this to the same as the batch 1. So going back to the second machine, we can see that the field has gone blank again, and that is because we got a value of 650 instead of 500. So let's refresh the status page. So now it's saying 14 kilosols per second. We might be able to go higher, or these machines have been either limited on purpose or they're not as good as the batch 1. I'm thinking Bitmain have limited them on purpose so that people won't buy the big Z9 Antminer. So if I leave it at 14.6, 16.5 plus a 14.6, and then the final one, that's 60 kilosols per second. That's 6 less than my estimated target, but that's still decent enough. Let's have a look at miner number 3. Hopefully it's not bricked. So I've been taken back to the overview page. Let's go to status, and we can see that the frequency has gone back to 500. Let's go to miner configuration, advanced settings, and we've got the combo box. We're able to select 750 again, save and apply. We know that the firmware works, and we know we've got an easier way of doing this. The other way that I was going to do, if I wasn't able to upload the firmware, I was going to open up WinSCP, type in the IP address, select SCP from the list, put in the credentials and log in. You'll see this about a fingerprint, a digital fingerprint. Just click on yes. And what I was going to do is go to the root folder, then go to www, pages, and then miner configuration, double click that, and then you can edit the HTML from here. After you edited the HTML and you close this, it'll automatically upload it. So if we search for 500, this isn't the right file. The actual file is under CGI bin, and it's minerconfiguration.cgi. CGI is just a script. Again, double click it, and from here we should be able to find a frequency. We have a Bitmain frequency and some numbers here. That's not what we want. Or what I could have done is just copy the pages from batch 1 into batch 2, and that would do the same job. I can't remember which file I needed to edit. It might be getminerconfig.cgi. Let's try that. No, it's not that one. It might be setminerconfig. Well, it's not here. So we can see that 750 doesn't work, but it's easier for us to change to a different frequency. So we know 650 works and 750 doesn't work. Let's try 700, save and apply. Whilst that's doing that, I'm going to upload the firmware on the other two. Make sure you flash the correct image, because you can brick it and you won't be covered under warranty if you brick it. So when upgrading the firmware, don't reset the page, don't power down the machine, just leave it until the page changes itself. Chain number 3 has just dropped off. So chain number 3 is not happy with a frequency of 700. The other two are. So I need to tone this down a little bit. So we'll go in the middle again, 675. I should also be looking at the power on the watt meter. We're at 1500 watts, which is fine. Power supply is rated at 1600 watts, and I have had 1700 watts out of this when I overclocked the A3, which has been sold to somebody else. Now the sound level has gone to about 48 to 50 dB, and that's because I am not extracting the heat out using the ducting. I will do later. I might have an issue with trying to fit the ducting between the two fans. I should be able to squash it. Looking at the ASIC, which has been set to 750 MHz, it is hashing at 15.25 kilosols per second, which means I can go a bit higher. So we know that 700 is too high. We can go in the middle again at 687 MHz. We're at 15.5 kilosols per second. The middle one is dying, the middle hash board. We're dropping to about 12 kilosols per second. So that setting is too high for this machine. Let's try 681 MHz. So what I'm doing is changing frequency one by one until it's stable. I keep monitoring it. If one of the hash boards starts dying, then I drop the frequency. So these can be overclocked, but not to 750 like the original batch 1. We're looking at about 681, maybe a bit less, depending on how they last. This one has gone down to 5 kilosols per second, so it's not happy at 681. I will drop that one down again. 675 MHz. Checking this one, we're at 10 kilosols per second. Hashboard 1 is dead, so I will drop this one also to 675. In fact, I'll go down by 1 to 681. Sticking all the numbers on what to mine, we have about 66 kilosols per second with a wattage of 1550 or thereabouts. The electric cost is about 12.8 cents per kilowatt in the UK. Click on calculate. We can see that the revenues are $64 to $62, with the profits of being $55 to $58 per day. That is assuming that you're cashing it out now. If you cash it out later and the value of the coin increases, then the earnings will be higher. So what can you get that will give you the similar amount of income? Let's have a look at asicminervalue.com. Stick in our unit rate of 12.8, click apply. Okay, it won't let us do that with a have to do 13. That's a bad design of this website. I am currently earning more than the Inner Silicon A9Z Master. Obviously it's not going to beat the ASIC Miner Xeon, which is about $20,000 in the first place. But even with the A9 Master being a lower wattage, I'm still making more, but then my hash rate is higher, and I think I've paid a similar amount to the A9 Master in total. If we look at the batch 1 that I ordered, that was about $2,000. Paid a similar amount for 3 more machines in batch 2 for about $4,000. The A9Z Master is actually sold out, so this is around $4,000. For the same price, I'm actually getting extra 16 kilosols per second. The price is a bit cheaper if you want it on a later batch, but if we look at the profitability, $41 a day for the A9Z Master versus the $57, $58, $59 a day with what I have so far. Now I'm not going to buy any more machines. What I should have done is bought more machines sooner. If you've liked this video and found anything useful, leave a thumbs up. If you haven't done already, please subscribe and click on the bell for more notifications. And could you also like my Facebook page? And I'll see you next time.